Hello everybody, welcome to the Redmen TV and your match preview show ahead of Liverpool taking on Toulouse in the Europa League on Thursday night at Anfield. My name is Dan Klopp, I'm joined by Dom and Scott over there. How are we doing, gentlemen? You okay?
I'm doing alright, yeah.
Good. Looking forward to this one? Yeah, we all good?
Yeah.
Happy? Yeah.
It's my first pre-match show, so...
Is it really? Yeah. Really?
Looking forward to this.
Oh, good. And this is your second show?
It's my second one,
yeah.
Covered the Everton one, so hopefully it's a little bit of good luck me doing this before the game.
Well, your debut can't have been too bad.
Yeah, it weren't too bad. Got a little bit of shit about the Jota.
Yeah. Yeah, I seen that. Yeah. I did see that. I also saw you defending yourself, and rightly so. And I got your point.
There was actually one thing in the second half where I think Harvey Elliott, he's whipped the ball into Jota, and it's gone about 2 inches above his head. And if that was Nunes, like my point, I think Nunes probably heads that in, you know.
We're not going down there. We're not going down that rabbit hole.
I've got to defend myself just while I get the chance.
And of course, welcome to all the people in the YouTube comments and the chat. More Al Argo gets us going. One of our members there says, hi all, hello mate, hope you're well. And 811YT says, Dan's got the shorts on, we're in for a good show. Well, I always have shorts on. Short weather is a state of mind, as I always say. Let's get stuck into it. And it's glorious out there in Liverpool at the moment as well. So Liverpool taking on Toulouse, Europa League. We just come back off the press conference. Jurgen Klopp and Curtis Jones spoke about 20 odd minutes ago. Both brilliant, by the way. I advise people to check out Curtis Jones especially. Thought he spoke really well on quite a few interesting topics. But obviously there was also team news, a little bit of fitness updates, not particularly positive from a Liverpool perspective. No Thiago nor Bajcetic for us. So that brings us on to what we think is going to happen then. Dom, I'll come to you first, mate. Are you expecting... We've seen a fair amount of sort of rotation and resting lads and that sort of stuff so far in Europa League. Are you expecting that to continue? Because this little run of fixtures now, albeit really important, are quite favourable for Liverpool. But do you think Jurgen Klopp will still sort of box clever with what he's trying to do? Yeah,
I think from the start of the season, when he has rotated, it's actually looked like we've got an actual decent second side to put out, with a couple of players from the first 11. We haven't had that luxury, let's say, in the past, have we? We've sort of had maybe 14 players that you could probably say you could pick from. Now we've probably got two teams, and it's good to see it. So hopefully, he does rotate the team. There's 7 games now before the international break, and then a massive one against City. So rotate it now. Make sure we get some minutes in the other players, because we never know what will happen on international duty. We've seen it with Robbo, haven't we? So, fingers crossed it goes well. But rotate it and let the lads have a chance, let's be honest. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, you mentioned Robbo there. Jurgen Klopp did also say that his surgery went well and as well as could have possibly been expected. So that's a positive to come from it. Ashley Fifth also says, so happy Jones is doing presses and we can see him growing up on and off the pitch. I absolutely agree with you there, my mate. Scott, likewise with Dom, really, do you expect to see some change for this one? I think there's an interesting one at left back in particular, because obviously we mentioned Andy Robertson being out. That means Tsimikas is going to be getting a lot of footy. Do you then, now he's your first choice left back, do you have to sort of rotate him and you bring maybe a Luke Chambers in, somebody younger, somebody like that who can give him a little bit of a break? It kind of changes the dynamic a little bit, doesn't it?
No, I think it definitely does, but obviously Tsimikas only just recently coming back into the side. I think he needs minutes at the same time. In a game like tomorrow, I think it's probably perfect for him to get another maybe 60, 65, something like that. Then take him off, bring one of the younger lads on. But yeah, I feel like tomorrow you've sort of got to go with possibly the weakest team that could win the game sort of thing. There are although they're favourable fixtures, there's still a lot of fixtures coming up, especially playing on the Thursday night now and then going to a Sunday. Sometimes last year we'd be playing on a Tuesday and then we might not be playing till the Sunday again. So just with that short time frame in between, we've definitely got to rotate, especially at Anfield. And yeah, some of the lads who need minutes. Kanate, again, coming back into the side on Saturday, I'd give him another 60. Even Gravenberch, just get a few more minutes in their legs, give him 60. And then when you're looking at the next Europa League game, then you could probably give a few of the younger lads minutes to get some points on the board first.
Yeah, it's interesting that, and there is that sort of edge to it as well, because you do want to get the group wrapped up as quickly as possible, and this double-header with Toulouse presents the perfect opportunity to do that, because Toulouse have won one, I think they beat last 1-0 and they drew with Union in the other fixture, so they are second. So for Liverpool, Dom, if we do win tomorrow night, beat them in France, all of a sudden you're through probably top of the group, done and dusted, and like Scott says, you can really rotate then, you can bring the younger lads in then. So do you think there will be an inclination or an urge for Jurgen Klopp to go a little bit stronger than you might expect tomorrow night because of that? Because like I say, these look like the second challenges to Liverpool potentially. So will he be thinking, okay, let's just kill this off now?
Yeah, these look like probably the second best team in the group. Let's be honest, but it's not a heavy group. That's not flattering for anyone. But yeah, like Scott just mentioned, yeah, maybe he will go with stronger players just to let's say cement that top place, because I kind of feel like we beat these tomorrow night, then it's done. It's done and dusted, because we're hardly going to drop many points to the other teams in the group. So there is minutes that need to be done for players. I agree with the Tsimikas shout. At first I was thinking about Chambers, whether he'd come in, but maybe it's too much too soon with him being injured as well for the international break and things. Yeah. So, I'd kind of like to see Tsimikas play 50, 60 minutes, 55, 60 minutes, bring the young lads on, give them some experience at Anfield, but not overwhelming too soon.
Very interesting. Chambers is back fit. I went to the academy on Sunday and he played against Benfica B. He looked good as well, actually. Joel Quanta played in that game as well, for what it's worth, and they both looked brilliant. They both played 45 minutes as well, which was interesting, because they both come off at half time, and you think, well, maybe they're getting lined up for some minutes in midweek. You touched on the midfield there, Scott. I'll come back to you on that, because it's a really interesting one. Obviously, seen Elliott come off the bench in the derby, does really well off the bench in the derby. Well, he'll be clamouring for more minutes here. Endo probably needs some minutes under his belt as well, if we are going to see anything of him. But Curtis Jones is kind of the ace in the pack a little bit when it comes to Liverpool. We've seen him do the press conference, which does suggest he will be starting the game, of course. But the fact that he's suspended for one more game, I think I'm right in saying, domestically, that kind of means he's a shoo-in to start, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think Curtis, every time he's played this year, he's looked like he's got a bit about him. I think we're finally seeing the development in the player that we've sort of been crying out for over the last few years. So 100% he's got to play. Again, Endo needs his minutes. We've not seen much of him, to be honest. I think, did he come off the bench? Who did we play away last time? Was it Lask away we played last? And
we have had Lask away.
Yeah, he come off the bench.
Yeah.
So I think he needs his minutes at the same time. But yeah, again, Elliott, nice little cameo. I think all these players that are just on that, right on the verge of the starting 11, like Elliott, like Curtis. I think this is the time you've got to give them the minutes. So maybe bring Endo on a little bit later in the game. And for me, I would play Gravenberch again, give him 60, because he was brilliant on Saturday. But again, it's minutes in the legs. You can't replicate match fitness. You can't replicate playing games. You can train as much as you want, but. Yeah, you need to give these players minutes. The
Gravenberch minutes thing's really interesting, actually. We won't dwell on it too much right now, but the fact he hardly played for Bayern Munich is it's stunted him in his Liverpool career, because you can see in games now he's getting tired after sort of the hour mark. He hasn't completed 90 minutes yet to that point, but he is getting visibly sort of knackered as the game goes on. Like, he was brilliant for half an hour, I thought, in the Merseyside derby. I thought he absolutely lit the game up, thought he was unbelievable. But all of a sudden he kind of faded, and that is because his match fitness just isn't there. So there will be a temptation to do what you're saying and go again with him. But it'll be interesting to see. Just pop into the comments quickly. Ashley Frith says, I think he could maybe trial Gomez at left back. I think he wants to see if he could challenge Tsimikas. Defo good for the box roll on the left. Yeah, obviously I think we've seen that on the weekend a little bit. And he did reference that when speaking about who could replace Robertson as well. So that's an interesting shout. And Sam Whitwell says, any chance of Scott joining the team permanently? Top bloke. That's nice, isn't it? Isn't it nice to be nice, everyone?
Nice one, Sam.
Yeah,
cheers, mate. Top man.
That did cross my mind as well, but I wasn't going to go there. I'm glad you said it. No, very nice people. I want to touch on the front line. I'm going to come back, circle right back around a little bit later and get your predicted 11s from you. But just generally on the front line then, I'll come to you, Dom. It's interesting again because there's a little caveat in here, and it's a bit of an annoying one for me. And anyone watching this or listening will know I absolutely love Ben Doak. He's probably going to be out. He's still got this slight muscle concern. We haven't had any update on it, but it does look like he's going to be out still. Does that mean we're going to see Mohamed Salah from the start of the Europa League game?
Yeah, definitely. Doak's probably the only one I'd put there. I kind of feel like when you have a Jota out there, it just doesn't seem to work. It wouldn't surprise me if Elliott goes out there, maybe, and then bring Gravenberch into the middle. Elliott's a decent option, definitely from that side. He can cut in, his technique's brilliant. Not obviously similar in pace, but he can also play in that position. I wouldn't like to see Salah start, definitely not. He's playing every game, every minute pretty much, and, if he goes out the team, then where do the goals come from? I think it's a bit of a dangerous move to play probably a top player in that game. However, it wouldn't surprise me if he starts.
No, it's a difficult one. I'm actually in the camp of putting Elliott out there because I think you get minutes into Elliott, albeit not in his favoured position, or the position we're going to see more of him in. Yeah. But it means you do that whilst also addressing some of the midfield issues, because it feels like you've got lads, to point your sort of Gravenberch moment earlier, you've got lads chomping at the bit to play in the midfield. You've got Curtis Jones there, you've got Ender, you've got Gravenberch, you probably need some minutes, etc., etc. but you haven't got that in the right wing role. So I'd just go Elliott out there, do a job for us, mate, if you can. Sam Cross mentions Gakpo. He is back and available. Obviously trained last week, but didn't actually make the matchday squad for the derby. But according to Jurgen Klopp today, he is available for tomorrow. So he's an interesting caveat on that. Scott, when it comes to the right wing, mate, I'll come to you on it. What do you see him doing there? Do you think there is a possibility he goes with Elliott, or do you think it's just Salah?
I think for us, we all would probably rather see Elliott there, give Salah a rest. But I think Salah's hunger for goals, I don't think Salah would ever turn away a minute of playing football. He just loves to be on the pitch. He loves to be scoring goals. So, yeah, I think there'll be a conversation between Salah and Klopp about where he goes with that. But it wouldn't surprise me to see Salah start tomorrow. As much as all us, the risk of injury and all that, we need him back for the Prem. But, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me to see him out there.
He is an absolute machine, touching wood as I say that, when it comes to being durable and being available all the time. And you're right, he would be saying, I'll play whatever minute of foot you want me to play. I remember he came on at Lask in the Austria away game, and he almost looked like, go on then. And he just ran the show for 20 minutes. Like, I really need to do this. Like, go on. It was men against boys stuff, and that's no disrespect to Lask, but he looked levels above. And I'm sure he'd do the same tomorrow night if he does indeed start the game. I want to speak about the Europa League more general and Liverpool's sort of situation in it, I guess, as well, because I'll stick with you, Scott. Liverpool, we've said it from pretty much day one in the Europa League. Liverpool will be desperate to go a long way in it, of course, and potentially win it if we can. We spoke off air about the final being in Dublin and all that good stuff as well. But to do that, Liverpool will be desperate to avoid any sort of mistakes, any slip-ups, any mishaps. And sort of the first, I suppose, staging post in that is finishing top of the group. Yeah. Because if you don't, you have a playoff with a team that comes out of the Champions League, which could be, I mean, I've just wrote 2 down here for argument's sake. Now there's obviously loads more, but Sevilla are currently third in the Europa League group. Obviously. No thank you. Yeah, no thank you. And also Manchester United, and as much as we laugh at them for being a little bit crap, you don't want that game. You've got no interest in that game. So, we need to qualify top is the point. Yeah,
listen, I wouldn't mind playing any of them in a semi-final, but playing it, is it like a last 16 game or something like that, isn't it, where you come out, it's just an extra 2 games you don't need. We need to box the group off as quick as possible. But I think us being so, like, sort of sniding our nose up at the Europa League shows how far we've come as a club, because I think we all remember watching Liverpool in the Roy Hodgson days. So the fact that we're sat here in the Europa League thinking we are now a Champions League club shows how far we've come as a club and how sort of ungrateful we've got as fans a little bit. But it's not a bad position to be in. I'd still, just in the broader scheme of the league, I'd still have us on for top 4 this year. So listen, finals in Dublin. Let's go and have a bit of fun with it. Let's box off the group early and yeah, I don't think any fan's gonna complain if we're in that final in Dublin in May or whatever it is. So
no, you will not be thinking about the Champions League on that night, mate. No. Let me tell you. No, you're right though, and Scott to the point is also right on, because we're a little bit older than Scott. You might have noticed on camera, but we remember even before Hodgson days, like I'd a bit your hand off for some Europa League runs or UEFA Cup runs as it was back then. Obviously, we had good times as well. Of course, we did. You know what I mean? But there are stages during my life supporting Liverpool whereby we haven't been in European competition all the time. It hasn't been a given, certainly not the Champions League. So we are where we are now. We are where we are because of last season. We've got to embrace it, and part of that is going about our job as professionally as possible. And tomorrow night is another example of that.
Definitely, and let's not forget some of our best nights under Klopp have been in the Europa League.
Certainly have.
You know,
Dortmund,
once you get in them latter stages, you can forget about the groups, you can forget about the last 16, all this stuff you can forget about. You know, at the end of the day, it's another trophy, and it's a trophy Klopp hasn't won. So there's a lot of hunger there from him, and I also believe the players, maybe, they'll have that extra bit of hunger as well, because it is something they haven't won as well. And, a little trip to Dublin, I think we all want that, don't we? Let's be honest.
Yeah, give me that over Wembley any day of the week. Give me that over most cities in Europe over any day of the week, to be honest. Do want to touch on Toulouse. Now, I won't ask for your, I'm sure, in-depth knowledge of how Toulouse are getting on this season, of course. But I did speak to French journalist who very kindly helped me out, Bastien Cheval. So shout out to you, Bastien. I've spoken to him before about a few different issues, but he really boxed me off on this one. I did do a little bit of my own research before speaking to him. And like I said earlier, they drew 1-1 at the weekend in Liga. They're currently 10th in Liga. They beat Lask 1-0, drew 1-1 with Union in the Europa League so far. So yeah, that's that covered. And Bastien told me, some pronunciations here, hang on. Zakaria Aboukal is their most skilled player, but he is currently out injured. He did his ACL recently. He's had a big injury. He's out for a long time. And Guillaume Vestes is big and he's very good. He is You're this one for you, Scott. I know we have to speak to you about something. 18 years old, their starting goalkeeper, and he starts for Thierry Henry's France under-21 team. Like, as occasions go and nights go, if you're an 18-year-old keeper coming to Anfield in the Europa League, like, that's massive. And it's also a little bit nerve-wracking. Will Liverpool be looking to test him? 18 coming to Anfield and playing in goal.
I think, for me, obviously, I've spent my whole life as a goalkeeper. On a big occasion like that, I've played for Wales a few times, played against some big countries. It all depends on the first action. Even if it's just down to a simple pass, it can just give you that little bit of confidence. So if we test him early, he goes and makes a worldie save, I guarantee he's going to have an absolute worldie of a night tomorrow. If that first action's then a mistake or a pass which he might put out of play or something, because the occasion might get to him, then we could be in for an interesting night there. But yeah, just as a goalkeeper, yeah, it all depends on that first action, that first touch of the ball. Because sometimes you might not get that ball for 10, 20 minutes. You might not see it. Bearing in mind that it's probably not going to happen tomorrow. It's probably going to happen pretty early on. But yeah, it all depends on what you do first.
Yeah, mate. I mean, I don't wish him any sort of ill in his footballing career. But tomorrow night, obviously, I'd like to see us score 2 or 3 past him at least. But on that note, start getting your score predictions in, so we'll be asking the lads in a moment. And also, you two start thinking about your team predictions too. But Samuel Cross has returned, and he has said, how many more impressive European displays or impact appearances off the bench in the Prem does Harvey have to have before he's considered in our best midfield 3? Now, I'll get both your opinions on that, but for me, it's a really interesting question. And I get it, because I think Harvey Elliott's been outstanding whenever he's been called upon this season. But the problem is the pecking order is now so impressive. Because obviously last season we've seen a lot of Harvey Elliott, certainly in the early stages of the season, but the early signs were there of Henderson in particular and Fabinho a little bit as well, not being up to speed anymore.
Yeah.
But now you've got Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, McAllister, all vying, Curtis Jones when he's available, so all vying for 2 spaces essentially. It's really, really difficult. Now Harvey Elliott is doing the exact right thing in terms of making an impact and being brilliant when he comes on. But Dom, I'll ask you first, like, how does he get into this side? It feels really difficult, and it shouldn't be because he's brilliant. But it's great that we've got this competition with places. Curtis Jones was speaking about the healthy competition a minute ago, but it just feels like Harvey Elliott, albeit playing really well, is a long way away from starting a Premier League game right now.
He is, and I think the arrival of Szoboszlai as well, that won't help that. As much as he's, obviously, we want both. Szoboszlai's on the right-hand side of the midfield, so the midfield 3, sorry. So are we saying that he should replace him? Because for me, Szoboszlai is one of the first names on the sheet. So I think we're far off Elliott starting games consistently. However, he's a perfect option to have impact off the bench, as he has all season, by the way. I'd say 99% of his games that he's actually come off the bench, he's actually helped us, and he's changed the game for us at times. So he's doing the right things, but let's be honest, he's not going to start every game.
It's brutal, isn't it? Because Dom's right. Like I think he's been genuinely outstanding. Pretty much every time he's come on, it's almost if he sits there and he watches the game unfold and he works out how he can best have an impact. He comes on with loads of energy. He gets around, and the opposition tiring might sort of play into his hands a little bit. But it does feel like he would have to do something absolutely out of this world to even get a look in, because of Szoboszlai, because of Gravenberch, and because of Curtis Jones a little bit. Like, Harvey Elliott is 5th, maybe even 6th in the sort of midfield pecking order, but he's also brilliant.
Yeah, for me, he came on. Him and Nunes changed the game a little bit on Saturday. Elliott was absolutely brilliant when he came on, and I don't think McAllister's hit the heights. So if there's a little change up in maybe the system of the midfield, you probably could fit him in there. But I think he was obviously brilliant for Argentina. He was brilliant for Brighton, but I don't think we've seen the best of him yet. So I think no one's too big to be dropped out the team. So I think maybe his spot is up for grabs if Klopp did want to change it round a little bit. But if Elliott keeps coming on and putting little cameos on, you can't avoid starting him. You can't avoid it. Every time he got the ball on Saturday, I was up off my feet, like I was up off my seat. Sorry, just waiting to see what he was going to do with the ball. I think that he did a bit of a worldie strike. Pickford made a brilliant save off it, and just that little bit of a spark he gave us on Saturday. So if he keeps doing what he's doing, Klopp, he'll force his way into the team for me. Klopp's seriously got to consider how he goes about that midfield.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And it's like I say, he's doing all the right things, just got to carry on doing that. And it might get frustrating for him at times a little bit, because you might just think at some point, like, what we've got to do to start a game, maybe banging down Klopp's door, I'm certain of it, to get a look in. But the competition's there anymore, the competition's there. And the McAllister one, somebody else, Sam Cross comes back actually to mention the McAllister stuff, and it's interesting. Obviously, I said post-match Everton and stand by, I actually think we've seen our best midfield three on the pitch in the weekend.
Yeah,
I do. I think in terms of technically, in terms of what they offer, I think that is our best three, the most balanced. But McAllister is just the most disciplined of them. He's playing in a role, unfamiliar role, and a role he probably doesn't want to be in either, so we're not going to see the best of him. I still think we need a proper six. I don't think it's Endo. I think it might be Andre, to be honest with you, in January. But that's a different show altogether. We're not talking transfers here. We are talking about Liverpool against Toulouse. And there was another note I wanted to mention. And Bastien Cheval, journalist, French, told me that Damien Comoli is the chief executive. Do you remember him?
Oh, really?
Toulouse,
Wow.
Interesting, that, yeah.
That's
Former Liverpool, yeah. It was a throwback. When I couldn't believe it, he's the data-driven approach has helped Toulouse, apparently. But yeah, interesting side note. Outside of that, team lineups. I'll come to you first, Dom.
I'd like to see Kelleher start.
Yeah.
Obviously, he would have played the last one due to injury, never. I'd like to see Gomez at right back.
Okay.
For me, Gomez needs minutes, and I also believe that, he's the best cover we've got right now for Trent. And Trent, we can't keep pushing him. We can't punish him every week by playing him in every single game, because, he needs resting as well. Matip hasn't played many games. It's a toss-up between him and Kanate for me. Okay. Like, Kanate should get more minutes. He needs more minutes. However, Matip also does. Yeah. Kwanzaa, definitely centre half. Like you mentioned, he played 45 minutes. Yeah. That sort of tees him up. I would like to see Chambers, but I believe it'll be Tsimikas, just for that bit of experience, show the game up, and then we bring Chambers on. Endo has to start. I don't think that's anyone to be surprised with that. Jones, obviously, he's been suspended. He needs game time. Elliott, depending on if he wants to give more match minutes to Gravenberch. Okay. But I'd like to see Elliott start through the middle personally, but we'll see. And then obviously it's going to be Salah. It is going to be, whether we like it or not. He's going to play him, isn't he? He wants games, he wants goals. And then I'd probably play Gakpo and Nunes.
Okay, wow. Okay, interesting. I'll come to you, Scott. Same changes.
Literally, he's hit the nail on the head with every single one there. The only thing I'd possibly consider, again, playing at Anfield, maybe putting playing at Elliott and Jones as a two there, and maybe playing Gravenberch a little bit deeper. Okay. I think Gravenberch just needs more minutes. Endo, let's face it, he's not going to break into that starting 11 in the Prem this year. So I think we need to work towards Gravenberch getting up to absolute full match tempo, because as brilliant as he was on Saturday, I still think he's probably only playing about 70-80% there. So if we can get him up to 100%, get him and Szoboszlai playing, get McAllister to what he can do, that's a hell of a midfield then. And I think games like this are the perfect time to get them minutes in, and Gravenberch should be able to just experiment a little bit, do things that maybe he wouldn't have been able to do on Saturday, where there would have been a bit more risk to it. So. That's the only sort of change I'd make, but apart from that, you pretty much hit the nail on the head with it. Okay,
interesting. I'm relatively surprised actually about that, to be honest with you. Just Jones probably captains that side then. Yeah, I'm thinking Jones probably captain that side. Jones is a shoe-in to start for me. I think that's a no-brainer. I don't know.
Who are you thinking?
I'm not. The attack surprised me. To be fair, I think he might go Diaz.
Do you?
I think he might go Diaz over Nunes. Yeah, I do, to be honest with you.
I'd protect him at every cost.
Would you? Yeah. I'm only going off the graphic that Liverpool social media put out when he was on it, and that tends to mean they're going to start the game. But outside of that, I don't know. Maybe I'm being misled by that. It's a difficult one. I get a lot of the points there. I'd be very tempted to go Elliott right wing instead of Salah, like I mentioned earlier. Really tempted to do that, and to the point getting Gravenberch in to start, because I agree. I think he does need another hour under his belt if we can get it. The Kwanzaa stuff is interesting. I would definitely start Kwanzaa. I would be tempted to go Kwanzaa on the other side, play the right hand side, because I actually think he might be a sort of Joel Matip successor in the long term. I don't think
not a Van Dijk.
No. I don't see it. I watched him again. I watched him at the academy on Sunday, and he just looks very Joel Matip-esque, the way he carried the ball out and stuff like that.
As well,
I like that about him. So he feels like that fit to me. So I'd like to see that, and possibly with Gomez alongside him in the left-sided one rather. And I would go Chambers over Tsimikas personally. I just think we need to protect Tsimikas. I take the point about minutes, but I don't want to live in a world whereby Tsimikas does a calf. Or a hamstring or something else before
then you bring Gomez in, don't you?
Yeah. Well, then do we ever want to live in a world where Tsimikas is only ever at 75%? That's the
I get it.
balance
I get
of
it. That's why it's that interesting conversation around the Europa League games in particular. Certainly when there's a couple of injuries or a couple of things hampering what you'd like to do in the ideal world, it makes it complicated. Just pop into the comments again. Lunatic, one of our members here on YouTube, says Harvey started against Brighton. Yeah, and that surprised the life out of me, by the way. I had Endo and Gravenberch on the bench. I think I'm right in saying he was my third choice pick for that game. He didn't feel like he was going to come, but he did, and he didn't really impress from the start. I think it's fair to say.
And it kind of feels like the more minutes Gravenberch gets, at that time he never. So the more minutes he gets, he's more of a shoe-in for me.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Mr. James Forto says his daughter's first game tomorrow. She's buzzing for it. That's boss. Hope you both have a wonderful time. Score prediction time. We had one a moment ago. While I find that, Scott, I'll come to you first.
I think 3-0, maybe 3-1. There might be a goal in there somewhere for them, but yeah, I think it'll be a pretty comfortable game. Especially at Anfield. I don't think it'll be too much of a test. No. I hope I don't eat my words, but yeah, I think we'll be all right.
Any goal scorers?
Oh, Salah.
Okay.
Salah.
Yeah. Okay. Go on.
I'm gonna go 3 or 4-0. I fancy Gakpo.
Okay.
Yeah, get back on the sheet.
It was Polo Haxey earlier on. It says 3-0 Gravenberch, Jota and Gakpo.
Very precise.
All about that. I'm all about that precision, I must admit. Last couple of comments now. We got Rob Davis saying 4-0. One of our members as well saying 4-0 easy night forwards. Lunatic returns with 6-0 and a winky face. Wow. GS says 3-1 FC is coming back. Yeah, probably. Sam Whitwell says Jones, Elliott and Endo midfield, but a strong bench. Yeah, I think that's the one you two both.
But I just swapped Gravenberch for Endo.
Sam Whitwell says 3-1's a safe bet. Yeah, happy days. Last couple of comments to make sure I haven't missed anything. Moore is feeling an Elliott goal. I like that too. He was close enough on the weekend. I will go 3-0 and Cody Gakpo to score as well. Yeah, sound happy days. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much, lads, for joining me. Until next time, up the Reds and take it easy.
Thank you so very, very much for checking out the video. If you enjoyed it, drop a like. The season is now well underway. If you need extra Redmen content, be it podcast, videos, documentaries, interviews, and general shows, fill your boots on redmenplus.com today.